I think it's gone well. I'm particularly proud of the fact that we have been able to address some of the long-term issues of the state, and we've done that with the support of the state legislature in a very bipartisan fashion. The major bills, the budget bills, for example, have passed with Democrat and Republican support. They're bold, they're innovative, they're really focused on future early childhood education, early childhood development, the drug problem that we are seeing, some of the mental health challenges that we see in Ohio. Overriding all of that, really, I guess, or the kind of the big theme behind what we've been doing is making sure we're investing in ourselves, making sure we're investing in Ohioans, and we don't want any Ohioan who is left behind. And I think that's been a consistent theme, that we're doing everything that we can to make sure every Ohioan has what they need, the education, the training, the background they need to get a good job and to be able to take care of their family.
Any surprises in the first year?
No big surprises. I think one of the things that you find out when you're governor is how fast things come at you. You've got to make decisions. You've got to get all the facts before you make a decision. But you can't really delay. Once you have the facts, you can't delay a decision because you have 10 more decisions that are backing up behind that one. So I think that's something that probably every governor learns. I think the only real big surprise probably was what a sorry state our transportation budget was, and that we had to go fix that. Not something that we particularly wanted to do, but we did it. We did it again in a with bipartisan support by the state legislature, and we're starting to see the results of that. I kind of joke with people and say, look, it's good news and bad news in regard to our highways. The good news is we're fixing them. The bad news is we're fixing them, and so you got to go deal with the construction.
I think I know the answer to the question because it's a call probably no governor ever wants to get, but good or bad, most memorable moment of the year for you?
2 a.m. in the morning on the 4th day of August, I got a call at home from my team and said there's been a mass shooting in Dayton, Ohio. And that's something that you dread. There's always a possibility. And we reacted to that. Fran and I went over that morning, met with the mayor, met with the chief of police, went to the crime scene, went to a prayer vigil that night. Subsequently, we attended the funerals. So just, gut-wrenching to see the family members and see what they went through. But I felt it was important. You expect leaders to lead, and 2 days later we announced a whole package of things that we wanted to see the legislature pass, that we think we know will make a difference. We know will save lives, but will also protect the Second Amendment.
I was there that Tuesday when you announced the 17-point plan. You said you only wanted to introduce stuff which you thought you could pass. Were you aware of the headwind that you would face?
Oh, I knew this was going to be heavy lifting. These are contentious issues, and I think sometimes what happens is, frankly, instead of debating the issue or looking at what the proposal is, it's easier sometimes for people to use phrases. And you're either against that phrase or you're for that phrase. And what we've been trying to do is to dig down even deeper. The bill that we've proposed does respect the Second Amendment, but it deals with, at the same time, it deals with some real world problems. One of the real world problems is you've got a member of your family, or I have a member of my family, and that person, let's say, is got a mental health problem, or they have a drug addiction problem, or an alcohol problem, and they've got guns, and one day they just kind of go off, and the family calls the police and says, what can we do? And too often, it's not the police's fault at all, but too often the answer is there's nothing we can do. So one of the things our bill is trying to do is to give those families an answer so they can get some help for that individual, get some help for their loved one, their dad or their brother or their son, at the same time protecting the public.
You said as you went into office on abortion that if you were presented with a heartbeat bill, you would sign it, and you did in April. I have to wonder what your reaction is to House Bill 413 as it stands right now.
Well, this is a pro-life administration. I think we're consistent. We certainly try to be consistent. I think an essential function of government is to protect those who are the most vulnerable. The unborn are certainly come into that category, but also They come under that category as a pregnant mother who's in a difficult situation because of poverty or because maybe she's on drugs or some other reasons, and getting her help so that we can help that child, and then helping that child in the first few years of life. All of those things are very, very important, and it's important for us to help the most vulnerable. I signed the heartbeat bill. I said I was going to sign that. I also said that there was no doubt that the lower courts would not uphold it because they have to follow the United States Supreme Court precedent. The United States Supreme Court will ultimately decide either this law or a similar law in some other state. We really need to wait until we see that to get guidance from the court as far as what we can pass in the future. So as far as any legislation that's been introduced in this area, I think we're probably better off just waiting until we get some results from the United States Supreme Court. The heartbeat bill is a bill that I committed to signing. I signed it, and we need to just kind of wait until we see what kind of decision we get out of the court.
So you wouldn't make a commitment to sign something like that, especially with the ectopic pregnancies?
Always look at any bill, but I just think it's important for us to wait until we get better guidance from the court on that. I mean, I hope the court upholds the bill. I think it should be upheld, but we don't know that yet.
On Lordstown, when the president tweeted in May about the sale from GM to Workhorse, you had said at the time that you didn't feel that this was a deal that was necessarily going to work without that Postal Service contract. Now that we have a deal for the sale to the new Lordstown Motors Corporation, do you feel that this is something that can be successful even if they don't get that $6 billion shot in the arm?
Well, I think this can be successful. The new Lordstown company, I think, can be successful, but they're still in the process, as you know, of trying to raise the money. And so we're there to help, but they've got to obviously raise the money to be able to make the capital investment that they need really to start a business up pretty much from scratch there. We did get great news, of course, last week in regard to General Motors, their joint venture with the Korean company, where they're going to start making the batteries, the battery cells that will go into the cars of the future. That's exciting. Ohio has historically been the #1 state to make engines in the old cars. Now it looks like we're going to lead the country in regard to these batteries. So I'm very happy about that.
We had hoped when you took office that you would be the first governor since the Taft administration to see the Browns in the playoffs. Unfortunately, that was not to be this year. But a lot of people will be placing bets on the playoffs as they come up. A lot of Ohioans going across the border to Pennsylvania or a neighboring state. Where does things stand with sports betting, and would you like it to see it move a little faster?
Well, I think sports betting is coming to Ohio. Whether people want that or not, I mean, states around us either have sports betting or are certainly going to get sports betting. I think the question for us is how we control it. There's a couple issues, frankly, that have been raised. One is sports betting going to be on your app? Is that something that, can we control it enough? Can we have the regulations to protect somebody underage from picking up your app and betting? That certainly is a concern. We have to take a look at that. I think also that some of the schools in the state of Ohio, some of our colleges have expressed a concern about gaming on their games. Ohio State has expressed that concern. I got a call from the president of Xavier University. The father called me about this. So these are a couple issues that clearly are going to have to be looked at by the General Assembly. But sports gaming is certainly coming to Ohio.